Good evening. Good evening. Welcome back to Ginger's Love Live. Another night of real discussions here. We have a deep one tonight to get into. So I hope you all are ready. Give everyone a moment to jump in that's going to join us. Good evening. How are you doing on this Monday evening? Good evening. Happy Monday. Hope everyone is having a good day. It's a lot going on. As always, it don't stop. It do not stop. So when you come in, say hello. How are you? What? Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Ginger's Love. In case you have not been here, if it's your first time, I am Siobhan, your host here on Ginger's Love Live, Master Life Coach. And here on Ginger's Love, we focus on embodying love, purpose, and personal growth. And tonight, we are talking when leadership fails, the dangerous cost of emotional neglect in the workplace. Is what we'll be talking about tonight. With a real life story. We were just watching a movie. I don't know if y'all have watched the movie Straw, but it's something similar that happened in real life. Hey, what's up, Bright? How are you doing? How are you doing tonight? Yes, we are getting into emotional, well, actually, when the leadership fails when it comes to emotional intelligence, which is something that we have been talking about here in emotional intelligence and leadership. It goes hand in hand, especially for effective leadership, where you are making a difference, a great influence. And it's not always, a nice place, a nice role. It's not always the best role to have in leadership because of the tough decisions that you have to navigate, or problems, people problems. You definitely have to be a people's person to be in leadership. You have to care about people enough to lead a team. Hey, Latasha. Nicole. Hey, friend. So, yes. So, leadership is not an easy role, and something that was brought to light in our last live was everyone don't want the role. Even if they have the skills or the capability or the potential to lead, they do not want to lead and they choose not to lead, which is good when you know that this is not going to be a good role for you. This is self-awareness, which is also a part of leadership. Hello! So yes, we are going to get into the topic of when leadership fails. What happens? What is the cost of emotional neglect in the workplace? And not only in the workplace, in life period. In life period, because it had to be some internal issues for you not to be, or it has to be some internal issues for you not to be able to deal with workplace environments that can be hostile, you not knowing how to deal with them in relationships, not knowing how to deal with them. So it's not always just a workplace, but we are talking leadership in just those roles, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's home, or just your own life. How is that showing up? Because we can say feelings don't matter and to get your feelings in check and all of that, but emotions are real. And if they're not, if they left unchecked, it could be some real problems, seriously. So welcome back here to Ginger's Love. And you know, as always, I love your feedback. We like real life, real conversation, real engagement. It's not just about me, it's about us as a whole. And you all that engage, you enrich the conversation. So thank you all for participating and rocking with me on Ginger's Love Live and making it what it is to help us embody love, identify purpose or define purpose in our life and just grow personally. And it also paves the way for you professionally, because no matter how we flip it, dip it, it is going, that is going to be a role in your life in some shape, form, or fashion. No structure is the result of failed leadership. When there is no structure, there is no growth, period. That's on period, friend. Most definitely. And what I find so interesting with the whole no structure thing, companies are built on structure. So what happens when we can be in a structured environment? It's supposed to be structured and the structure is not upheld or is not followed. That is what be the issue. It don't be so much of we have no structure, but the people in leadership that is responsible for making sure, overseeing, or enforcing the structure falls short. And it could be a number of reasons why that happens, especially if you've been in leadership. So, great point there, friend. Thank you so much. The structure, what happened to the structured and a structured organization? That is, like, I always find that very interesting. And so it comes down to leadership. It comes down to management. It comes down to the person that's expected to lead, that is paid to lead, and somehow it falls by the wayside for whatever reason. And that's something I want to explore tonight, just in your own experience. What have leadership looked like for you in those roles? In a hostile, have you been in a hostile environment where leadership fails? And what did it cost? What did it cost you? Or what did you witness that it had cost someone else? It's like a game of Jenga. The right piece is either being placed or taken away. Yes, it is. And when the wrong piece is taken away, you know what happened. If you're not careful or strategic or you're not doing, it collapses. It collapses and falls. Hey, Niecy. So yes, yeah, that's what happened. It will collapse and fall. And unfortunately, like, you don't have room to take on a leadership role to not be a leader, because that is what happens. And sometimes you may have to go to the basics, back to the basics, just identifying what is leadership. what is leadership and what does it mean? And what does it mean for the company that you are being a face of leadership? Because again, it's structure, it's written structure. I'm going to say that it's something to always refer back to when it comes to how you're supposed to do things or what is expected of the leadership, the team, how things will work together for the good of the company, the good of the team, the good of business is what the idea, the goal is when it comes to business relationships, team managers, things of that nature. But there is clearly something missing, and it's not just that isolated situation that just happened. This is worldwide. It is lived experiences. People, go to work. Sometimes that's their only source of income. That's their only way of surviving is their job. And then you go to work and it's just as stressful as being there, and you got to take it. So we're going to get into the point of, suppression, not being able to express yourself, or a fear of losing your job. A fear is a real thing. You fear losing your job, so you take emotional abuse or neglect or mistreatment just to save your job, just so you to survive. So you can imagine what a breaking point is. Not that it's an excuse for anything that happened in the McDonald's situation. That is emotion. You gotta have, things in check, and if you don't, anything can happen, seriously. And if you're not careful about how you're handling people, it can turn out bad for you. Because you just never know. It's no different than like road rage, anything where people are really snapping out here in the world, and you just can't be too comfortable. We all get, a fight or flight. We all can be quick-tempered. Sometimes that's why it's important, and why it's important in my work. It just from my own experience also is to put that in perspective and really get a hold to our emotions, because it affects us in our life all the way around. We have plenty of examples. We can look back in our own lives, people's lives that we know, TV shows, reality, like real things that is happening with these emotions just not being dealt with seriously. And people not taking people with issues seriously with that. And it's so unfortunate, because at the end of the day, it is inner work that you have to do as an individual, whether you're a leader or you are an employee, or if you're in a relationship, any role that you're playing, you have to show up for yourself and have to be able to make good decisions and be aware of what's a provoking situation, to where sometimes you have to make decisions even if it's for leaving a job. It comes down to that. So it's very layered, a very heavy topic, and I have a question as always to just get into that environment, like just reflecting on that. Have you, as a leader, if you've been a leader, identified a lot of leaders that we have, and how we deal with that, and even if you ever dealt with a hostile employee, or sometimes even a hostile co-worker. I have seen some stuff on the floor just as an employee myself, and not just in leadership, but people just amongst one another, just not clicking, not saying things, and taking life to work, or carrying life heavy on them, to where you can't say nothing to someone. So that's a whole nother thing. So feel free to chime in any thoughts that you have on that situation. Like, we're on the outside looking in, but just from the complaints, I have seen some of the complaints of the young lady who attacked the manager, and it was leading up, to it, and not being aware and not paying attention to people's behavior that's around you that can be the cost of what happens when there is neglect. Neglect not to care about people, neglect not to properly, handle. You have compassion and empathy because you're so caught up, in yourself, to where you not open-hearted, you're not open-minded to see someone else. Especially if you're close to it, close to someone. I want to put this in the chat. So what does bad leadership look like to you? And how has it affected you? Hi, Kalina. Hello, everyone that has joined. Thank you for joining. Get in on the topic. When leadership fails and the cause of emotional neglect in the workplace is what we're discussing tonight. It's a real thing, and it's something, you know, that we all work together. A workplace is a place where many people come together for a common goal. If it's nothing just to get the paycheck, we're there for a reason, and everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a part, and you as an individual, you know, how are you leading in the role that you have, whether you're an employee or a manager, because it's just not, you know, the manager's, you know, total responsibility for another person's actions. And as leaders, you have to understand that dynamic. You really have to be clear and have clarity of what your role is as a leader, you know, because you can get caught up in that emotional manipulation, those games that people play when it comes to, you know, work and responsibility, whether it's someone that you're dealing with is taking accountability or they're looking to blame someone. So as I stated earlier, a leadership role, especially in an organization outside of yourself, is it can be very tall order. And if you're not equipped, yeah, you may take the role because it pays good, but if you're not equipped to really be effective in that role, it hurts not only you because it's a stressful situation for yourself, it's a stressful situation for an environment, and what we call team morale. All that is affected when you are not in a place to really show up in a role. Hello, Mother. Hey, Janae. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to all the birthdays in July so far. We're 14 days into the month. Happy birthday. It's a blessing to be here, so we have to take advantage of what we have. What we have, and in those roles, you're welcome. Hold on. My little puppy be just making up a whole lot of noise. I try to let him stay in here. He be quiet, but if he hear any noise in here, he gets really loud. Any unusual noise, he gets loud. I know, it sounds like a big dog, but he a puppy. He's 6 months. It's a pit bull, so... I was like, I do not like all of this, that loud barking for nothing. And he used to, when we first got him, he wasn't like that. He was just so, he still lays down and be quiet and stuff, but if he hears something, like he's up here in the office with me, and if he hears something downstairs and Jill's here, he gonna bark. Guess it's kind of good. He gonna alarm us if something happens. But it really be working on my nerves sometimes. I be like, chill out, sir, Mr. Tiger. All he does, those poodles, they be vicious now. They got a big heart. I've seen poodles that's just like, you swear you can do something in just a little old thing. So yes, what have you all dealt with when it comes to have you ever been in a situation or witnessed a situation where it was abuse, leadership abuse, or power struggles? Not even power struggles, because we know the hierarchy when it comes to a workplace, but being in a hostile environment when it comes to workplace, and how did you deal with it? Have you ever been in a situation where you at work and you didn't have the best leadership and you have to navigate some things yourself, because it is a such thing of abuse of authority, where leaders will abuse their authority just because they know they rank in their position. And that is when emotional neglect can come in, especially when people are struggling. And like I said, their only mean is showing up to work and trying to do the best way the best work that they can. And sometimes that work needs, in order for them to do the best work that they have to have a good team environment, a good relationship where they trust their leadership, where they are seen and they not just a number, just someone that's coming in. And that's what it gives sometimes, for those dynamics, those team and leadership dynamics, where the employees feel like the leaders do not care about them. They don't care about them, so they feel like they treat them anyway, don't care about their personal life. Because how much we want to say, business is business, people's lives and the people that work for you, that make your business what it is, matters. So your role as a leader matters as well. Now, I haven't had just horrible leaders. I can't say that for what they do and what they're responsible to do, but there is a gap when it comes to people management. It can be a gap. And if an ego is not checked when it comes to managing a team, it can really, become a stressful work, hostile environment. And that's why you have HR, you have rules, and you have how things should go and how things should be handled. But when that is not enforced, and that's what happens when it's not enforced, then you feel like you got to handle things how the best way you can, just depending on the situation. So what has been a situation and how did you handle it emotionally, even though maybe in the inside, or maybe you didn't handle it so well? Is there a situation where you had a run-in with bad leadership? Hi, Jade. Welcome back. Welcome back to Ginger's Love. Hi, Pansy. So, yes, just reflecting on those times. What was it like? And, just to put in perspective, what does bad leadership look like? Because that's what we're talking about when leadership fails and how it affects us. How does it affect us? I can share a situation where I felt that it was abuse of authority. I'm gonna say that, and especially when you tapped into the roles and your job, an individual's job. Or your manager's, job, and what their responsibilities are. What you lack, what you need. And it was a situation where it was a policy. It was let me see. Was it a policy? No, it was I guess it was steps to be taken. And I didn't take a step. I'm going to say that. I didn't take a step, and I went to my manager for assistance with getting back on the right track. And instead of addressing, what we needed to do to get back on track. I acknowledge my, my error and where I messed up, but I'm trying to move forward to what we need to do to get back on the same track, to save what we had going on. And instead of, me getting that, I got back what I should have been doing, and we wouldn't be doing this had you did this. Okay, we can't change what passed. What I asked you, what has happened, what has passed. What I asked you is, what can we do to get back on track? What is the things? And because I said that, and I guess it was dismissive, in a way, because I'm like, okay, that's not what I was asking you, which it wasn't what I was asking. I asked a direct question, so I was expecting a direct response to what I asked, and not, we wouldn't be here had you did this. We already know that, and so my response by putting that in perspective wasn't taken lightly, and I was written up. First I've ever been in trouble, and I was written up and I was put on a first, not a verbal, not, warning anything. It was a verbal, and I felt like it was authority. It was abuse of authority. And I took the write up, of course, okay, this is how you're going to handle it. You have a right to handle it how, you choose to handle it. And so that's how it was. But everyone has bosses, everyone has, and I'm all for fairness. I'm all for, truth, and I'm all for accountability. So I take accountability, for my role. And again, it's always processes and procedures. It's always structure, how you handle things. But when you deal with someone that can be ego driven, it can blur the lines to how you communicate. And I have always been a person that, you're going to respect me, I'm going to respect you, to the best of my ability, especially in hostile, situations or stressful situations. I'm always try to be as respectful and give you at least that, and I'm going to ask and expect the same. And if it's not, like I said, things can get crazy if you're not aware of how these certain things can be provoking, and you stay in control and don't give your power away. You can get caught up in those situations. But that's about the only time I really experienced where I felt like, or I labeled it as abuse of authority, is because you didn't like how I responded. You used what you could do to justify, to write me up, as opposed to handling it in a different way that didn't cause for it. Just, again, just a reflection of who I am, how I work and what my efforts are. I feel like as a leader, you should know these things about your people and handle those accordingly, because if you don't, this is how employees feel like they're not seen, they're undervalued, and they don't, your leadership team does not care about you at all. And some, they don't, it just is what it is. It may just be, I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability, but I'm going to keep personal things out the way. But how do you really keep personal things separate from business when the people that work for you, it is very personal for them? Again, sometimes a job is their only way of surviving, their only way of holding their head above water. So you have to be human enough and people human-centered to be able to tap into that. And then, have that balance, because like I said, people can run over you. Employees can be manipulative and play all the games in the world, but that also comes to leadership being able to discern and really weigh things out and make the best decisions when it comes to it. Yes, workplace bullying is real, unwarranted. Yes, indeed. Yeah, because we know how leadership works, and it comes down to how a leader decides to handle something. And how they decides to handle, most time the higher up is going to support it, because they were hired to be in that position. So of course it's going to be a support. But I can say there was a fairness in it when I put things in perspective to a higher up. because I felt, you know, the write-up was wrong. It was wrong. And on the level that it was verbal. It wasn't a verbal or a developmental approach. It was a you in trouble, you know, and I'm going to write you up type of approach. And I didn't take that too well. But I still held, you know, I still dealt with it in the best way that I can, as professionally as I can. And I was happy with how the situation was handled, and things were put in perspective. So I've always liked the management that I had. I did enjoy my management. I'm going to say that it wasn't just a bad thing. That was an isolated situation, and, you know, we were good from then. We were all good, but that is one thing that happened to me. And so, yes, bullying is real. I thank God I've never really had to deal with any bullying at work or anywhere really. Just I remember bullying back in grade school, grade school growing up as a kid. That's the only type of bullying I really have experienced. And thank God for that. No bullying. So, yeah, I don't see. Let me check the comments. Okay, it can make it hard to go to work. Also, really easy to show up when the ones that make trying aren't there. To make it trying aren't there. But it's definitely best to learn to let people determine your mood or set the tone of your day. It's hard, but it can be done with great constant effort. Yes, indeed. Because not only that you're dealing with life, you have to deal with work. And it's a difference. We talked about that, Jade, about, you know, work will try you differently than your home will try you. Sometimes you have a great influence at home, especially depending on the role that you play. You say hi since you in my live. Say hi, everybody. Hi. So, this is Miss Gia, if y'all don't know. This is my niece Gia. Excuse the typos, no problem. I have them too. So, yes, you do have to learn yourself. You have to learn yourself in whatever role that you're in. If it's an employee, it's a leadership role, you have to learn yourself. And you have to be open to other people. And especially if you're there to lead, if you're there to make a situation better, or create an environment where people do feel, you know, respected, or just to have control and that structure that Ashley was speaking about earlier. Like, if you don't have structure, it's hard for you to operate smoothly. It's hard for you to raise team morale or keep someone motivated to do the best work, because that's the goal for the business, is to do the best work. And the best way to get people to do the best work is to see them as human and not just someone that's here to work, do your job, or, you know, else. And I am thankful that when I was in a role as a leader, that it wasn't hard for my team to do what they were expected to do, if not meeting beyond exceeding, because it was just who they were. So I always thank God, like, I have a good team. You know, you can deal with some minor things, but as far as productivity and work, it was easy, you know, for them to do their job. But my thing was to get them to excel at doing it by dealing with the things that take away from them doing the best job that they could easily. With, you know, effortlessly. You can do the job when you're not dealing with so many emotional things. It used to make me laugh. It used to be funny, like, when, if you ever heard this, when people be at work, people be at work and don't want to work. Like, now I hear people like, I don't get off my phone. I don't feel like this. Like, this is your job, sir or ma'am. It's to be on the phone talking to these customers. So, you know, it is hard, like, especially like in one of those, in one of the videos that I had seen, or the little reels, a snippet was that the young lady was saying, she was talking about her personal stuff, the issues that she had at home with her man or her baby daddy or whatever, and like they don't want to hear that, but they have to hear this because this is the environment that was in this establishment. And so all of that, that just weighs on you doing, which is unprofessional. You're talking about personal things. You have an attitude where your employees can look at and feel like you are mistreating me or you handling me wrong because you got something going on at work. So sometimes managers can come in or employees can come in and be mad already from the start of the day. Don't want nobody talking to them, don't want to talk, don't want to do their job, but they got to show up because they need to survive. They need the job to survive. Gia, out my live. Thank you. You distracted me. That's a distraction, baby. Yes, so she threw me off. I'm sorry. Just back there just doing stuff. I tried to ignore it, block it as long as I could, but no ma'am. Yes, so you have to be aware of those situations, and if you have a good team, if you have someone that does their work, that is how I was able to, like I said, I had a good team. It wasn't nothing for them. I just had to encourage them to do a good job because it's a great reflection of who they are more so than anything else. It just reflects you as an individual, and that's what I like to keep in perspective. She's about to do a TikTok. Okay. Oh, they forget that it was hard to do a particular job. She laughed. They forgot that it was hard to do a particular job, but you can become complacent, basically outgrow their job. You can. And so that's when we talk about what do you do as an employee or individual when you have outgrown a job. This is leadership. This does not carry the role that we talk about in positions and organizations, but just in your own life for your own inner peace, your own well-being, just having that balance in your life where you're not so emotionally drained, because this is where that straw happens when you take on too much and you mismanage the way that you need to, or make the decisions that is going to align with what's best for your well-being, whether it's emotionally, mentally, financially. Like, these are the choices that you have to make as an individual. So if you become complacent, and if I hear that in leadership, I would be like, okay, what can we do? What do you like do? I try to ask those questions to get you on a path, because as a leader, that is also your responsibility, is help someone develop, help someone grow in the direction that they want to, that's going to benefit them. And sometimes people need help identifying that, because when you stay in a role so long, or especially if you outgrow, you just going through the motions. You're just going through the motions, and it don't require much of you to do anything for you to do the job. It doesn't challenge you, in no type of way. And this is when the leadership is to step in and ensure that you're not getting complacent. Like I say, your team is one that would push you to grow, would push you to get in alignment with your growth and not be stagnant. And that is a very important part in leadership that cannot fall by the wayside, although it does. But it affects the team morale. It affects an individual. But as a leader of your own, as personal leadership, then you get the opportunity to move. You get the opportunity to apply yourself, and why it's always important for you to know your own worth. Whether someone tell you or not, you have to know your value. But one need to know when to walk away. It's definitely okay. Yes, push into purpose. Amen. I like that. Push into purpose. That is beautiful. So, and that's what you have to do when you don't get the support that you need. You have to be able to move, and that does give you purpose because you standing on who you are and what you're capable of doing, even if someone don't see you or they don't support you in a way. You have the ability, you may not have the capacity all the time, but there is some where you can get the support that you need, or a job. You know, if it's before it's hostile, before you ruin my life, I'm gonna have to go ahead and dip. I'm gonna have to go ahead and dip out, because it's not gonna be good for you, and that's who it's gonna affect at the end of the day. That is what it's gonna affect at the end of the day. So we have to make sure that we are aware. We are aware of our needs. That we can't get stuck in survival mode, because if you do, that is what happens. You'll stay in a place that is detrimental to your well-being, and it can be a pressure pipe. It can burst. It can burst, and it is not a good thing if it bursts. You know, especially if it's to a point that you want to hurt someone. You want to bring harm to someone. And when you do want to bring harm, no matter in what relationship, if you get to a place you want to bring harm to someone, please leave. Please get out, because that is not a good thing. We are not wanting to bring harm to ourselves. We don't want to bring self-harm, or nor do we want to bring harm to others. So we definitely don't want to do that. Push the purpose. That is lovely. Let me see here. And as always, thank you all for engaging. Okay. That made me think of Champ. What part, friend? Run. Yes, you have to run, because it is all. Yeah, okay, yeah, friend. You knew. It was a point of no return for Champ. So yes, yeah, be aware, and then it's really a tough situation if, like I say, if you know better, you can grow better. And it don't always come, knowing better don't always come with doing better. It can be a challenge just to do the one thing that you need to do to change a situation, and that could be walk away. It's the one thing you can do. And if you can't walk away, who's the blame there? If you can't walk away, where do you put that in perspective in a situation and own it? If you're in a situation where you can't afford to walk away, especially in the workplace, I'm talking workplace now, where you can't afford to walk away, what do you do in that situation? Being aware and being aware and knowing what you need and being in alignment with that, and whatever that choice look like, really being able to stand in that without it causing you losing yourself, you losing integrity of who you are. And this becomes self-abuse. So when that happens, what do you do in those situations? You know you need to, or just knowing when to walk away. It's kind of almost, it'll be so evident when it's time to walk away that you can't even deny it. So if you deny it for whatever reason, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the, you can't, just depending on the circumstances. Some people really believe that they can't walk away from things. They could have little faith in themselves and the situation. So this is where comfort can sneak in on you. Yeah, when you want to harm, you got to leave. Cause it's gonna be on you. Your actions, and you can say what you want to say. Such and such did this, made me do this. What you choose to do is gonna fall on you. Time to recognize your strength, build that resume up, and find a suitable department in that company. Yes, it is. Because if you and that can be the best thing, for you. You have to. And one thing, and that's knowing your worth, knowing who you are, and just being able to move with that. It'll pay off. And this is how you continue to grow in your own life. And it is an example for other people. When you make those type of decisions and, show up, for yourself, it's someone that you encourage or you motivate to do the same thing. Because it's a real thing. Like I say, all the things that we deal with, whether, in the workplace and your own life, it comes down to that. It's always what you said and what you did. Don't be fooled, period. Do not be fooled. It's going to come down to that. So you have to watch what you say. You got to watch what you do. And let it be a reflection of who you are and not what someone made you do. We cannot be pulled by what others do. We only can control what we do. And that's like a bottom line at the end of the day. So no matter, even that when there's gaps to be filled, what can you do to fill that gap? What can you do for yourself to develop yourself more, to do what Ashley stated? Recognize your strengths. Do you know your strengths? Do you truly know your strengths? Do you truly know your resume to build it? Do you truly know it? And finding a suitable, just having the will about yourself, or the determination or the motivation about yourself, just to be able to do that, because it's work in that also. And not even if it's not even a department, another whole place of employment, or your own thing. Like what would it look like if you had to walk away from a situation? Do you have what it takes? Do you have what it takes to walk away from a situation, to leave a comfort zone, or to level up in a way that you need to level up, to lead your life and not your life be led by the choices of other people? Ooh, even in them emails, baby, don't bring those emails up. They can be real reckless in the emails. Yes, them emails will have you like on the text, you typing and erasing it, and you need to sit. One thing that I learned in a communication class was, when it's something like that where you ready to, respond, write the email, let it sit for a minute. Don't respond immediately. Yes, be okay with receiving feedback even if you disagree. That is very important. That's very important. And that's learning when to, we spoke about quiet confidence. Just because you quiet don't mean you lack confidence. It means you are using your discernment. You know when to speak. You know when not to. You choose your battle. You picking and choosing your battles. And that comes from intelligence. That comes from emotional intelligence, self-awareness, discipline, control, self-control. All those things is skills that you have to build. You have to get strong in. If you don't, then you can. If you don't have it, you can. As long as, we're blessed with another day and new breath, and, we have this to breathe life, and as we have that, you can get what you need. They had too much time. And speaking of that, it brings me back to my scenario that I shared earlier. The tone came up in it, and they was like, you can't have no tone in the email. Oh yes, or in a text. In text, you can't have a tone. Like, yes, you can. I have a tone in a text if I haven't had that in a while. But I have. I know what tone look like. We know what tone look like. That's like, don't play on my intelligence. You definitely had a tone. Be okay with receiving. Okay, I stopped at that first sentence. Be okay with receiving feedback, even if you disagree, because people can see what you may not at times. Yes, there is definitely a blind side. There is definitely, especially if you emotionally, charged up. If you emotionally charged up, yes, and I have been blindsided. So that's a good take there. Let's see. I hate when I can't see all the comments. You may mean it one way, but it can be received differently. Yes, that's something I had to acknowledge and take ownership of and correct myself as well. And I love it. I love the growth in me. I love to see, identify it, because I'm a learner. That is one of my strengths. I want to learn. I want to improve. So when I get the feedback, even if I was emotionally driven at one point, I'm going to check myself and I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm definitely humble yourself and try to put your 2 weeks notice in, find another job. And if it's impossible to put your 2 weeks notice in, don't allow the stress to be upon yourself and just terminate your position. Amen. Yes. Yes, that is very good advice, Nicole. Humble yourself, try to put your 2 weeks notice in to find another job. And if it's impossible, put your 2 weeks notice in. Don't allow the stress to be upon yourself and just terminate your position by quitting. That is a lack of emotional, control. Emotional resilience. That's what that looks like. Emotional resilience, being able to humble yourself, and especially if you need it, if this your way of survival, because we know how things work. And that's something so far in a job or in an organization that you don't have no control over. You only can look, reflect, and say, okay, this is what I need, this is what I need to move forward, because I know it's not a good thing, and be at peace with that. That's good. Thank you. You have to know yourself and love yourself. It's not always about the money. Amen. I had one boss, she said she don't do email. She prefer in-person feedback for that reason. Yes. She just wanted to cut loose. Yes. When you know a person to get to know them, you can't help but read it like they be talking. Most definitely. Like I say, you cannot play. That is good. We don't want to be loud and wrong. It's got like me to ask, are you listening to her just to respond? Yes. That's all come down to that communication, making sure that you're listening to hear and not just respond. And then now, it's one thing about that when it comes to that is a common feedback that you get in communication, and I mean, it's a real thing where people just listen to respond, or people feel like that. It's all about perception as well. Is if a person really think you heard them, your response will be in alignment with what they say. And now that can get tricky, Jade, and let me know if you have experienced that, to where you hear a person, you respond to it. Do you not say anything else? Just you respond and you not follow up with how you may feel, or you just have to discern this is just something to me to respond to what they said and not elaborate on it. Because the elaboration can give the perception that you didn't hear me. So how do you discern that? Or how do you handle that situation? Or if you have experienced that, where you heard them, you listened, and you responded. How do we do both? How do we hear and respond? Or how does it get labeled that you just responded, you didn't hear me? And that now, and I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to take the obvious answer off, is that you not even touching base on what I'm saying. You just respond. You just want to say what you want to say. You're not even hearing or trying to understand what I'm saying, because I can tell by your response. So we're going to take that off. Is there any other scenarios where that happens? You ain't lying. It is tough out here. It is tough. It's real. It's real, and you really can't take things, lightly, for real. Because that is exactly right. Sometimes folks don't want to hear you regardless, so it just depends on where they at, and that's period. Yes, and you'll learn that eventually. You like, you just don't want to hear nothing I gotta say, period. You sure right. Let me be quiet. Let me zip it. Oh, yes, indeed. So yeah, in the leadership, just in your own way, yourself as you lead, it always also a saying that we all may know is, be the example or be the change you want to see. So even if you're dealing with life, hard, life, it's hard, it's challenging, and it's hard for you to rise to your true self just to survive. The way we respond to people is a survival in itself as well. So that is work. It's inner work. It's work that has to be done. And why, again, I focus on emotional intelligence. The next class that I'm having is the master class is emotional intelligence and leadership, from my lived experience, from my truth, my spiritual, truth when it comes to leading with love, which is a framework that I teach inside of the emotional intelligence and leadership masterclass. It's something that we need because we are leaders. We are leaders in some shape, form, or fashion. And your example and how you lead and how you show up is going to be a blessing to someone else. It's going to be a blessing. It's going to be a way, inspiration, because even though you can be inspired by someone and someone can encourage you and motivate you, it still has to come from you. You still have to choose. And I've seen that where I think I've reached somebody and everything is great, and then the next thing, boom, it's like it didn't even happen. So knowing better is not always doing better. It is an opportunity for you to grow and change in areas that you need to change, and just show up for yourself. Make the choices that you need that's going to complement your true being to give you inner peace. How they say, talking to a brick wall, we have to pick our battles. Yes, indeed. And how much time you got? Period. I want to show you got to have patience. We have not brought up patience. You got to have patience with people. You really do. You got to have patience, and if you don't, you're going to learn when you are taking responsibility for how you respond and how you act and what you represented. You're going to have to learn patience. Hey, mister. Hi, Donna. Thank y'all for joining. We are just talking when leadership fails, what happens? It falls on you as an individual. You cannot get caught up in holding someone responsible when it has to be you, when you don't have control over it. You cannot, because even though the young lady can say that manager did this, and that, and that she may have a mental issue that was going on too, that may be in her favor and get the help that she needs. But you are held responsible for your actions, what you say and what you do at the end of the day. It's going to be, and just when we get judged, it's going to be us as an individual, what you do, what your heart was like, what choices that you make. It's not going to be on nobody else. That's why you can't spend too much time and exert too much energy on people that are not trying to grow. You cannot, because it will drain you. You have to be in control of what you can do, be an example of what you want to see change, just to be an example. Because it's our witness. We got the good and we got the bad. We can always look how someone handled something, and it was the same situation, but handle it totally different. Because, like you said, Jay, where you at? It depends on where you at, how you deal with things, how you handle things, how you speak, how you carry yourself. All of that is a reflection of you and how you show up for yourself. Personal leadership is what it is. And then that opens the doors for everything else. It makes everything else, every other role in your life, more easy to manage and navigate, because you are grounded and rooted in your truth and how you're going to respond. You're not going to let anyone else, control you. You're going to control them. Want to be the fountain, not the drain. Amen. And in order for you to be the fountain, you got to take care of it. You got to take care of it so you can pour out into someone else. Even when they can't pour into you, you're able to pour into them, because your fountain is not on for someone else. It's from who you are, and you can't be moved from that when that's where you're grounded and rooted in. Now, might get shook up, a little bit, but if you're grounded in that, then you can continue to do so. So, you all, that concludes our live tonight. I thank you all for, coming in, reflecting on, exploring the topic of when leadership fails, and what happens when emotional intelligence is, when emotional neglect in the workplace. What happens. We had a real live example. We have experience. I shared one, and it wasn't so much of emotional neglect in my situation, but when it happens, when you're not tapped into how someone's acting, how someone's responding, and you're not dealing with it appropriately, any type of back and forth, that is to be handled. Any type of level of disrespect in the workplace, to keep everything professional, it has to be handled properly. So, as always, know you're love. You are love. I'm love. God is love. We are created in love. Together we can change the world with love. So it's what you give, the love that you give. So thank you all for joining. I so very much appreciate you all being here with me. I am closing out for the night. I love you all, and I will see you all Wednesday inside of the Ginger's Love Facebook group. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Good night.